Photojournalism is such a compelling and such a powerful genre simply because it embraces so many different types of practices. What is sports photography if not photojournalism? What is travel photography if not the form of photojournalism? Documentary photography, reportage, street photography. One of the greatest definition about what a photojournalist is, in my opinion, is given by Alfred Eisenstadt, and I want you to look at this very short sketch where he defines photojournalist in his own words, and I think is really inspiring.
What I am is a photojournalist. Now, what is a photojournalist really? It's someone who records what he sees, people, events, moments in time. If I do my job extremely well, some might say that I'm an artist.
In a way, photojournalism has grown into a massive genre that is embraced as well by the citizen with the digital technology. Now, on one end, a lot of things changed. A lot of photographers found themselves really struck by this technology and they didn't really adapt. But the ones who adapted, the ones who embraced this wonderful technology found themselves with some tools that really helped them. Tools like the smartphone, the camera phone. Wherever you go, you always have a camera. Wherever you go, anything that you see can be recorded. So the citizen, as a photographer, we could say that everyone is a photojournalist as such. Everyone can assume the role of the witness of an event at any moment in time, because everyone has a phone camera with them at all time. So photojournalism becomes even a greater debate today. Photojournalism is very compelling and it has been the center of discussions and debates and criticism about aesthetics, what is photojournalism, what is photojournalistic, and what is not photojournalistic, and ethics about the post-production of what is allowed and what is not allowed, what is accepted and what is not accepted. Think for a minute about photojournalism. At first instance, you may get connotations of war, connotations of famine, connotations of social issues that are in the limelight, in news, they are in magazines, they are on stories around social media and so forth. I look at it as a big umbrella under which there are lots of different genres. For some, photojournalism becomes like a calling, like something where they can assume a role and express themselves for a social cause, for an issue that is at heart. For our own purpose, we want to be a little bit more specific in what is the core of photojournalism. And we find the news photographer and the documentarist. The news photographer deals with single images that are usually distributed for an audience through newspapers, magazines, online publications, and so forth. The documentarist adopts a different kind of format which we call the photo essay. What we want to deal with in this specific module is the practice of the photo essay. The photo essay is a series of images, is a different form of expressing ourselves with photography. It's not a single picture, it's a series of pictures that are connected by a person, a character, an issue. It could be a location, it could be a pub, it could be the environment, it could be anything that is at heart for you.
The photo essay is popularized by Life magazine as a formulaic of telling a story with photography, with pictures. Before I actually go into breaking it down, I'm going to start with Eugene Smith, a photographic essay called Country Doctor. The life of a country doctor in Colorado's Rocky Mountains, a landmark photo essay by Eugene Smith. This is the very first picture telling us who this story is about. We have the very recognizable doctor bag, and what this photographer Eugene Smith is doing is capturing the amazing work and the lengths this doctor goes to treat these people in rural America in very difficult circumstances, very little access to resources and medical equipment. And here we have a beautiful portrait of the doctor, Dr. Seriani, resting in his kitchen after having spent the night operating. We are now seeing photojournalists or photographers dedicating a big chunk of their time to follow it, to spend time to understand, to report on important things that are happening. He shot without film for about 2 weeks, if memory serves me right, for about 2 weeks with this doctor. And why would he do that? Report building. We have to start thinking as photographers of our influence, the influence of our presence on other people's behavior, but also the influence of other people's behavior on ourselves. So that is why he would have shot without film. That is why he would have wanted people to become accustomed to him so that he becomes invisible. So how do we approach it? How does this look like? What does this photographic essay look like? This is the photo essay formula. Not every photo essay has to have these. Some essays will have more than just one of these. We will see some differences as to how it was composed back then versus now. You'll see differences from publication to publication, but fundamentally, at its core, it's the same. This formula works everywhere, not just for photojournalism. The very first one is the introductory or establishing photo. So if we now go back to Country Doctor, you can see why In Life magazine opens with this photograph of the doctor. You know, we can very clearly see what it is about, what it's going to be about. He's outdoors, he's outside. We get the impression he's on his way to something. Then we have a portrait with an evocative background. This wonderful portrait of the doctor again. Who is the story about? It's our protagonist. Detail shot, close up to things that give us a little bit of an insight into who that person is. An interaction shot of people conversing or action conveyed. The signature shot. Just think of it as 5 important elements. Number 1, you have your establishing shot. If you're doing reportage on a festival, your opening shot is going to be of the festival. It's probably going to be a wide angle picture. Think about whether you're shooting vertical or horizontal, because of course if you're shooting for a magazine, if you're shooting for a cover, that has to be vertical. And we have the portrait, the moment or action shot, the relationship shot. All these pictures, we are talking about thousands and thousands of pictures being taken for about 10 or 15 to be published. I want to go back to another photo essay now, The Private Life of Gwyneth Filling by Leonard McCombs. Before we look at it, I just want to contextualize it a little bit. This is the beginning of women having real jobs. This is the beginning of the career girl. Don't underestimate the importance of an essay like this at the time. Thanks to the power of photography, we are seeing for the very first time that women can have jobs too. Women can have careers. It's not just for men. How inspiring would this have been to women at the time? This is now a possibility. This is from a story by Margaret Bourke-White. Now, how amazing is that picture? World's highest standard of living. There's no way like the American way. We have a line of black people seeking food and clothing from a relief station. What a great establishing shot. It sums it up to a T. It's so important to think about the dynamic and the pace of these photographs, how they interweave. What you really don't want to do is to have all the good shots at the beginning and then the boring shots at the end. Editing is so hard. Don't have all the good pictures at the beginning and all the last pictures at the end. You don't want to have all the action shots. It needs to have a web and flow, a good pace, something really interesting happening here. And then it quiets down. Maybe it's time to introduce some detail shots, a bit of space to breathe, and then a portrait, and then a little bit more action. What's important for me as a teacher is that you learn how to apply this in practice, even with very, very basic things. What you want to do is be able to photograph anything and have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And the essay is your way of doing that.